Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Austin the Stache with York CHATS talking to Mayor Barry Redfern today. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am great.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, it's been a very busy couple of weeks here in York, especially with Yorkfest finishing up yesterday. Did you get to go experience Yorkfest and have a good time? What were some of your favorite parts?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a full, the Chamber does a great job, full weekend of events. So we had I was at the mayoral breakfast on Friday morning in the coronation, which was really good to see Scott and Ruth Cook, very well-deserved king and queen of Yorkfest this year. So that was great. And, was down for the parade, which was a huge turnout. And I guess one of my favorite things, there were tons of great things that I saw going on, but, was really excited to go down to the cultural festival yesterday at the auditorium, to see that event, in our auditorium that we've recently, gotten remodeled and the air conditioning work, but,
always much needed.
Yeah. That was great. But to see the performers there and the people turn out for it, and that was a first time for that. So I hope it's the first time of many. And, that has to do with a lot of the efforts of some of the creative district work for York's doing and also the state. And, we've got a mural that's going to be painted towards the end of the month that you can still donate a little bit to if you want. But, cool to see some of those things going on. But that was a great event yesterday.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit more about the creative district and York's push to have, the creative district have a few more things that are a little bit outside of the realm of norm,
Right.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, a lot of communities are doing that with the legislature passed that where you can get a little bit of, a few dollars of assistance to do some things that, as you say, are a little out of the norm, but add a lot of character and add a lot of real heart and soul to communities, when you can add a mural to the downtown and do some beautification, but also add music, add the arts, add a lot of things that I know, Clark Rausch, Dr. Clark Rausch from York University is heading that for us and involved on a state level too. And so just excited to see what other things are going to come from that.
Absolutely. And then speaking of things that have finished up, the football field is finished and the home opener is coming up this Friday, which of course you can listen to on Cool Radio 103.5 FM.
There you go.
Gotta do it. And of course I'll be on the call for it. People are very excited to see the York Dukes on a brand new football field.
Well, it's absolutely gorgeous and it is exciting. I know people are very excited for the home opener Friday, and I'm sure the Dukes are going to bounce back at home, and things will go better on that front. But yeah, that whole facility with the baseball and the football and all the bleachers that have been put in, what a neat addition to East Hill Ballpark and for the school and the city to work together once again.
And you've been in York so much longer than I have. What should I expect going to a York Duke football game? The one thing everyone tells me is be ready for the cannon.
Yeah, you can hear that kind of all over town. I kind of forget once in a while when I go up there and then it goes off and my toes curl and I kind of, but I know that, Jeff Benz and other people have been in charge of that cannon for a long time and they're always looking for volunteers. But yeah, that's one thing to notice. But I think, the atmosphere up there is always great. The setting in the park and that whole field has been a big part of York for a long time. I know at one time when a lot of people talked about when the high school was rebuilt, should they build their own field and play football there? And many, longtime Yorkites were like, no, that's not where we play. We play here. So we had a lot of issues with the field and that whole facility. So, we're very fortunate that the voters of York passed LB 357, which we've done so many great things with, the ball fields and this and the new AstroTurf at East Hill. But also, fixing the auditorium, the community center, and now that same fund's going to pay for our new fire station.
Well, talk about that a little bit more about, the willingness of the community to invest in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was something, we were recognized by the League of Municipalities as being a community that had done really more than anyone else had with that LB 357, which was that extra 0.5% sales tax that can be used for infrastructure and recreational type quality of life projects. And, we're such a great example in York of things that would really struggle to get funded in a normal budget that we've been able to do. And, I think the quiet zone with the railroads, paying for the press box and stuff at all of that at East Hill originally. And the ball complex, were all major components of that. But in addition, that funds helped, redo all the tennis courts and do projects at the high school, but also a lot of things that I already mentioned for the city. So, really proud of people that they voted that. And I think they've really seen the benefits of having passed LB 357 a few years ago.
You mentioned that the fire station, is getting going with under construction. We had on the fire chief to talk about that as well. But, when it comes to putting in all of these new things, especially with something like the fire station, just kind of what does that mean to the community, and what does that mean to you, being a part of it all?
When I first 6 years ago, and talking about the fire station, was like, yep, that's something we need to do. And so, but getting it from talking about something you need to do to actually making it happen, it is a big deal. And, it had come to the point where it really did need to, the operational systems had kind of failed, the size, the thing, everything just wasn't working to try and remodel or do anything. So really proud of everyone that worked on that project. And that was a ton of Chief Bestwick and a lot of his captains involved in that process along with city administration. But, it's hard to pay for something today that you're planning to last for most of the rest of the century. And that's what that is. And so, I think it's just another addition to York that just shows, what quality of life matters here.
You raise a great point about this, about the fire station being a thing that you then don't touch, right? It's the kind of thing you build and it stays like that for 40, 50 years. What are some of the things that York is doing right now that kind of are in that same vein? Because, the obviously turf on the football field is going to last longer, and the new ball fields are going to last quite a while. What are some of those things that York continues to do to try and be that sustainable? You know what I mean? Yeah,
and I think part of it from a city standpoint, too, is a couple of the projects that LB 357 and that we were able to do prior to this was, to fix the auditorium in the community center. Those were important projects. But I think, some of it's been kind of the willingness of the council and the administration to look beyond it and kind of redo some of our zoning and some of our TIF all the way out to the interstate. A couple weeks ago, Bosselman's announced that they're going to completely remodel the pump and pantry out there. Mm-hmm. This coming week, we're going to have another TIP application for a new hotel out there.
Oh, really?
A new 79. And we have 2 or 3 that I can't talk about quite yet because they haven't come to the point, but you'll be hearing about soon of other projects that are going to happen in the interstate area. So really super excited to see that growth out there. We've been, there have been a few buildings that had gotten a little run down, showing a little time we hadn't seen. And so this should be exciting, from that kind of sustainable long-term growth. And some of that's because we put in some TIF financing, but, with that, that's something that if it were not for TIF, would the project happen? So you try and make it a good investment for people. They invest and it creates sales tax dollars and jobs and things for the people that live in York.
Something that I'm an outsider. I'm new to the community. I live in Lincoln.
Well, we consider you an insider now.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, but there is this dynamic in York, and I would love to get your thoughts on it. On interstate York versus York proper is kind of the way that I see it. And how do you balance seemingly the two? Like, where do you as the mayor put your efforts into? Obviously you want to serve both
Right.
to the best of your abilities. But how
And
does
both
that
are,
operate?
yeah, and that's, really good question. I mean, that's part of it. You've got the more traditional town in the interstate area, but it's all the city limits of York. And, as I continue to tell you, there's more things that are going to keep happening out there. And so, one way to make it a little more part of town is not to isolate it, and I think before you know it, and if you start to look up and down the road, it's filling in pretty good.
Sure,
and
yeah.
with the projects that I'm mentioning and some of the ones that are maybe being proposed that aren't final yet, it's even gonna tighten up a little bit more. But yeah, you do have with the interstate and soon to be 4 lanes coming through over the next years,
Yeah.
a lot of the traveling public going by. So that's one of the things that we collect. We collect sales tax off a lot of things out there, but it isn't all profit.
Sure.
I mean, our EMT services and fire services are out there a lot. Our police are out there a lot. We need to do road projects and construction out there. So it's a big part of the city budget and what we do to kind of make things go. But, obviously without getting into a lot of it today, there's been some controversy about a grant that we're working on to get, and people have different opinions. I personally have been out there where I think places are safer when in fact you increase infrastructure, when you make it more public, when you make it more open, when you have things. And
Sure.
Adding sidewalks and more roads out in the interstate area will make it safer for people to move around and also people to come out there that live in York, not just the traveling public.
Sure, absolutely. And speaking of the budget, there has been an approved budget. What's the good, the bad? What do you think of it?
Yeah, I was really pleased with all the work of the department heads. They all have wish lists that we have to go in and cut a bunch out. But, we were able to keep our levy the same. Our reserves are projected to be at least over 2.8 plus an additional couple $1 million of reserves that we've got in a sinking fund in case we would have some, insurance has turned into a big deal. And so from where we were on insurance, to have some of those dollars set aside for what we might have to, put up if we would have, so to speak, a rainy day disaster. But, so I think we're in a great position from reserves. We're buying a couple of new dump trucks. I joked with somebody the other day when they asked me like how much something costs, and it seems like everything costs so much.
It does. It
when
really does.
my first inkling is to say, oh, it's going to cost this, and then if I double it and add 50%, I'm usually pretty close.
Oh man,
But I mean, it's just that crazy.
It is.
2 dump trucks, $600,000. To haul snow and do things. But the ones we had were from 1997. So those went. But
Crazy to think that's almost 20 years ago.
I know. So we were able to give everyone a 3% raise, which I feel good about. Everybody works hard, and we can't always do that. So I'm glad we can do that. And we've really worked hard at our parks lately, and changing out the playground equipment to make it safe. In Harrison, we're going to replace that equipment in this year's budget and remove a couple of kind of things that are maybe not as safe and make that park with the new splash pad, really something to be proud of on the west side of York too.
Is there anything that didn't make the cut for the budget that you're like, I really wish that this could have been in there? Of course, there's always something. But,
there's some big things that that people would like to do with this, with the outdoor swimming facility. And
Sure.
I'm not going to pick on Cherie because she's always got lots of ideas and things. But I think we were able, and I think the department heads were really willing to, be really smart about what we could afford, what we could do. So we tried to spread it around that. Everybody got a little something to be excited about, but we've done some pretty big projects here over the last few years. And with the fire station going on and stuff, that's a big focus for this year. But we did come back to the community center and are going to replace the weight equipment that is decades and decades old down there, and then replace a few of the couple ellipticals and treadmills. So, things like that. We just have to stay on it, and we'll get those in a rotation so we can kind of keep that stuff up.
Now, I don't know if you have an answer to this, but if you're replacing those, what are you doing with the old ones? Because listen, I'm always looking for gym equipment to like. I'm sure there are tons of people that want a home gym. Like,
you know what? I'll have to check with Cherie, but we do sell surplus equipment. So if that equipment will have limited trade-in value, then we will. We might just have to have a garage sale
For
on
sure.
some of that. The problem with selling weights is they're really heavy.
they are, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't even know how they get all that out of the basement of the community center and bring new ones in, but I'm pretty sure my back's not going to be lifting that.
We can hire the high school football
Right,
team.
there's
That'd be
gotta
great.
be
There's
stronger backs than mine to do that.
100%. Well, very good. Well, Barry, is there anything else you want to let the people know about this time around?
No, just, it's just, I'm always proud to represent York whenever I'm out there, and it's always an honor for me. So just want to keep having good things happen for York, and it's just amazing how many different things people get involved with and how much it means to them. So just very proud of everyone.
Well, fantastic. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate being here.